friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie. Thank you so much for joining me today. And the sun is setting on Memorial Day weekend, which is very sad because it means the long weekend is over. But I'm happy because it means that summer has officially started. Unofficially, officially, the summer is here, whatever you want to say. To celebrate the start of this fabulous season, I have a couple books that I have been saving especially for this time, and I am very excited to finally be able to jump in and read these. I have two books here, and one of them was very beautifully wrapped and sent to me, and just really, I'm so touched and honored that this was sent to me. And to be honest, I already opened it and rewrapped it, but I wanted you guys to see that it was like sent to me in such a beautiful and amazing way. So this is A Perfect Vintage by Chelsea Fagan, who you may or may not know from the channel The Financial Diet here on YouTube. She is my idol, my queen. I absolutely adore Chelsea so much. And the fact that she sent me her novel and with like a little personalized note with my name on it, like the fact that she sent me an advanced reader copy of this book, I just, like melts my heart. I'm so excited. She is a really wonderful, fantastic, amazing human being whose mission in life has been to empower women, but everybody really, with financial literacy and education to do with our modern society. And there's often a lot of ties into pop culture and kind of how the trends of the modern world dictate our finances and stuff like that. So she's a really amazing person, and I cannot wait to read her debut novel. This was a passion project that she did. She published it herself. She had an entirely female team behind her. She did everything for this book. She has put so much work into it. So I am so happy to have this in my hands and to read it. So this takes place in France, and Chelsea's husband is French, and she spent a lot of time in France, and I think French is her second language. So she has a lot of personal ties to France, so it makes perfect sense to me that she wrote a book in this location. But this says Old Money, Younger Men, One Intoxicating Summer. So this is kind of a really indulgent romance, and it is about a woman who her job is to go to old kind of abandoned estates in the French countryside and turn them into boutique hotels. And while she's there one summer, I believe that her sister leaves her college-age daughter in her care, and I think adventures abound from there. But I'm excited to just like imagine myself like in the sun-soaked French countryside. I'm gonna be drinking some wine. I'm gonna go to a winery while I read this, which is gonna be just the perfect place. You know, if I can't actually go to the locations of these books, like I'm gonna do the next best thing. So that is A Perfect Vintage by Chelsea Fagan. And then we have One Italian Summer by Rebecca Serle. And as the title would suggest, this takes place in Italy, specifically in Positano, which is a place that I have gone, and it's just absolutely stunning. I mean, Positano is, and as it should be, on everyone's bucket list. It is just the most beautiful place, and this is a lovely cover. I mean, they both have lovely covers, like, of course. So this was a 2022, late 2021 release. I actually got this last year, and I have been saving it for this summer because I think I got it like in winter or something, like when it was not appropriate to read a summer book. I probably could have, but I wanted to save it for now. I was actually interested in this book because I kind of stumbled upon Rebecca Serle. She's written a lot of things before, but I knew her first from reading In 5 Years, which this is a book that completely just completely shocked me in every way. I picked it up because I was very interested in the premise, in which it's basically that a woman who on the night of her engagement, she goes to sleep, and then she wakes up in the bed of another man, and it's 5 years into the future. And then she goes back to sleep, and then she wakes up in her current life. So she's kind of figuring out like what in the world is going on and what happens in those 5 years to lead her to the moment that she experiences. So I was very interested in that premise. Even though I don't really typically read romances, I could not help but be curious by that premise. And I'm so glad that I picked it up, because I was just blown away. I was blown away. I did not expect it. I immediately had to buy a copy for myself. I was just like really stunned with this book, to be honest. So when I heard that Rebecca Serle was writing another one, I'm so interested in what she has going on next. And in One Italian Summer, it's actually about a girl who is grieving the death of her mother, and she goes to Positano, I think because her and her mother had some sort of connection there. And it's actually, and I'm sure that there will probably be a romance angle, but it's really not typical of Rebecca Serle to focus on the romance elements, actually, which is kind of interesting. But it's going to be more an exploration of grief and the relationship between this mother and daughter. And interestingly, I'm not going to be listening to the audiobook, but Lauren Graham of Gilmore Girls fame does read the audiobook, so if that's something that you're interested in. So these are the two books that I am reading for my kind of summer kickoff celebration. I'm so excited to just be transported to these like beautiful, indulgent worlds and just like remember what it was like to, in the case of Positano, be there and kind of daydream about being in the French countryside in the case of A Perfect Vintage. I'm just excited to kind of just be a little bit, indulgent myself, and I'm gonna make myself an Aperol Spritz, and I'm gonna maybe take myself to a winery, because that is the joy of summer. And now I just have to decide which one to start first. Hello! We are heading out to the beach for George's birthday party. And when I say beach, it's a lake, but there's still a beach there, and it's like one of our most favorite things to do. We love going to a lake day with our friends. So I've got the gear, and of course I'm bringing One Italian Summer to start this reading vlog off. And just like that, I am back. I have returned from my day at the beach. I had a really lovely time, got some sun, which was really nice. My first tan of the summer, although I am trying to like be better and not like burn, like fry my skin to a crisp. Like I'm over 25 now. Like I have to take care of my skin a little bit better. But I still love to soak up the sun and the vitamin C. And very fittingly, I was able to read just the start of this book, not too far. I'm about 50 pages in, but I'm really enjoying this. It was very fitting in the sun, by the water and the sand. Even though I wasn't actually in Positano, I wasn't actually in Italy, I still could get the vibes, which was really nice. And actually, this book, and what I will say about Rebecca Serle is that she knows that you are coming for the premise, and she gets to the point right away. So not very far into the book, but like very quickly, like within the first 20 to 30 pages, you are in Positano, which is really nice because that's what everyone's here for. And reading the book made me really crave Italian food, like nice, good Italian food, not like middle of the road, like the good stuff. So I actually got us a dinner reservation for a restaurant very appropriately named the Amalfi Cucina in downtown Atlanta. So that's where we're gonna be heading, so I can have some delicious Italian food while I soak up this story. But I didn't actually say what this story was about It's actually about a woman who is grieving the death of her mother, and she had a really strong bond with her mother. So this loss is kind of like leaving her really broken and lost, and nothing in her life seems right without her mother. And actually, to be honest, it starts off on a pretty depressing note, like not the warm, bubbly, fun book that you would think this is when you like look at the cover and, you know. That being said, though, like I said, it does get right into Positano, so that's good. I don't know if this is actually romance. Like, I don't know if there's romance in it or anything like that. I don't know much about this book, but what I do know is that all of Rebecca Serle's novels include some sort of like, well, her adult ones, I don't know about her YA, but her adult fiction includes some sort of like magical twist. So in the other book, in 5 years, she was transported 5 years into the future for a single night. The dinner list, I think, is about like people coming back from having dinner with like people from the dead. I don't really know. I haven't read that one yet. And then this one, so she's grieving her mother, and when she gets to Positano, she actually runs into her mother alive and in the flesh, but it's her mother at 30 years old. So before she knew her as a person. So that's really interesting. And then the book is kind of about like our main character, Katie, kind of learning who her mother was before she was a mother. And that's a very interesting premise to me. I'm very intrigued. And another thing about Rebecca Serle's books is that they go by so fast, as in like they're very quick reads. She keeps the pace moving. She knows what you want to see. Like, she knows where you want to spend your time. And that makes me really happy. It makes it a fun and easy read, although granted, like I said, this does start off on quite like a kind of depressing note. But I think that might change throughout the course of the book. I would assume so. I assume this is going to eventually be heartwarming. And all in all, you know, I'm enjoying it. I like Rebecca Serle, so I'm not surprised that I'm enjoying this. But I'm quite, you know, still not very far into it, so we will see. But for right now, I am going to go and get some delicious Italian food inspired by the Amalfi Coast, because man, this book makes me want to eat some pasta. So that is what I'm going to do. Okay, it is weekend number 2 of us going to a lake and me attempting to read this book. We went to the lake last weekend where I started reading One Italian Summer, and I honestly have not gone very far in it. Like, I'm only a third of the way in it, which, I mean, this book could be finished in a day if I just sat down and committed to it. But we were at the lake last weekend, and our friends came, and it was a friend I haven't seen in a while, so we actually just ended up talking for the most part. I didn't read much of it. And today we're going to the Callaway Gardens in Georgia, which is like, it's actually like, it's a lake, but it's like kind of a resort. It's like kind of done up. It's very strange. I'm not from Georgia. I'm from Colorado, and we do not have anything like this. We have been once a couple years ago. And yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, but it was fun. So I'm going to finish One Italian Summer, hopefully this weekend, because it should not be taking me this long to get through this book. But we are excited to see the gardens and the lake and read this lovely Italian story. Hello from Orlando. I am in Orlando for work, and I am My gosh, we got absolutely drenched outside. I think it's just something you need to prepare for. When you come to Orlando, you're gonna get caught in the rain. Oh my gosh, very tired. We've been up since, well, we got in at 1 a.m. last night and then had to be up out the door 6 a.m. this morning, and I don't even know what time it is. It's like barely 7 p.m. and I'm like, it's time for bed, but I have just a little tiny bit left of One Italian Summer that I am determined to finish right now. We were in Disney Springs. I got some Gideon's cookies, but the bag is like completely soaked all the way through. So my plan for the rest of the evening is to finish One Italian Summer and eat my cookies and drink some tea. The hotel had free tea, which was lovely, but it is like bright neon orange, which is very insane, and I'm a little bit scared, but oh god. Okay, that's awful. I'm gonna have to get a different flavor, and the water is cold. But it is time. I've said it so many times. It's time to finish One Italian Summer, and then I will give an update and start a perfect vintage, which I also brought with me because we are going to Epcot, and yes, I will be visiting Italy and France. Not just for the sake of this video, but it just happened to work out that way. So my intention is to finish this, start the next. Maybe I'll get a chance to read it by the pool, but the way the weather is going and our timing, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but we'll try our best. All right, last time. It's time to finish this. George is laughing because I've been reading this book for entirely too long. Okay, bye. Hi. I have just returned from Orlando. We were only there for 4 days, but I feel like I've been away from my house for 4 months. And I'm like, please, nobody asked me to leave the house for a good week at least. I'm so exhausted. But while I was on my work trip, it's for my second job. I coach a team, but I don't want to say more than that because they are minors. So out of respect and privacy and safety for them, I will not further speak about that. But I am a coach. I'm a coach of a sport. And so that's where I was in Orlando. But yes, I did finish One Italian Summer while I was there. It took me way too long to finish this book. This book is really not a long book. But I was just having a hard time finding the time to pick this up. And honestly, it's a quick read. It's an easy read, but I was nonetheless struggling to get through it. So final thoughts on One Italian Summer. The ending really missed for me, and in a way I was not surprised because I kind of had heard the reviews of this book and I knew that a lot of people just did not like it, and I totally understand why. So Rebecca Serle, like, typically there are a couple marks of her books. One is that they usually include, like, the premise includes some sort of magical element, and it's very much like in the premise, so it's not a surprise that that magical element is there. And then there's usually some sort of like reversal of either a trope or expectations or something like that. And usually there is sort of some commentary being made on relationships or personal growth in some way. So those are like hallmarks of a Rebecca Serle novel. While I loved In 5 Years, I don't know if it was just because it was my first of her books, so I was like so surprised with what happened and the direction it took, or if it was just like like vastly stronger book, which honestly I do think that's true. But because I kind of like knew what to expect going to this one, it just like didn't hit as hard. But even more so, I just found that the themes were like extremely underbaked, and especially at the end, everything felt very rushed, which, you know, that is a little bit frustrating only because I love the premises in this book. I love the themes that Rebecca Serle starts to touch on. This is about a woman who is grieving the loss of her mother, someone that she has loved and admired and has kind of like has been her partner in crime for her entire life. And how do you move on when that person who has been such a stable and strong force in your life is gone? In kind of a magical twist of fate, I guess, she meets her mother, but as a 30-year-old, so prior to her becoming a mother. And I was really interested in the conversations that was kind of bringing up, like knowing that your parents had a life and that they had separate identities before you came into the world, and just understanding that, like, you know, I can relate to the feeling of, you know, thinking like, how does everybody know how to do these things, but I don't? And it's just like, well, that's just going through the process of life and learning and experience and things like that. I was interested in that like dichotomy between knowing your parental figure as a parent and then as a person, which is something that we experience as we get older. We start to recognize that our parents are actually people apart from being parents. So I was interested in that. I was interested in the themes of kind of wondering if having children is something that you want in life, and just kind of like battling between, you know, wanting a career and a certain kind of lifestyle and having a child. That's a prevalent theme in this book. I think it's about coping with the life that you have versus a more aspirational or exciting kind of life, and like what does it mean to sacrifice one for the other, things like that. Like, I was really interested in all those themes, but the book was just quite surface level. Like, she really didn't like want to talk about those things. Like, basically, I think what happened was that like Rebecca Serle had this idea, which was a great premise. If there's one thing Rebecca Serle can do, it is write a premise, because her books, like, really, the premises hook you right away. So she had this great premise, and then she had these themes that she was really thinking about and kind of like probably experiencing in her real life, or, you know, knew someone that was experiencing them, or just kind of like pondering on these thoughts. And she wrote them into this book, but it kind of feels like she didn't actually want to do the work to work through those themes, to write about those themes, to have a character experience any kind of like real development. That is a problem, I would say, with this book, is that the characters are just not well done. And again, the strength of the premise really just makes this just feel just like a letdown. That sucks, because I really loved In 5 Years, but it is what it is. I did end up giving this a 3, because while I did struggle with especially the ending and kind of like the missed opportunities with those themes, it's not like they're not there. It's just they are just really not explored. But I don't know, maybe that's not what people are looking for when they pick up a little book like One Italian Summer. I'm not really, I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm looking for, because I'm a literary fiction reader, but maybe that's not, you know, maybe people don't want to go into depth in that, and maybe they just want, you know, it's fun to broach the topic, but we don't really want to go in depth, and that's fine. Like, I get that it's like a summer, like, beachy read, like, maybe people don't want to be that intense about it, so there's that. But then for like the positives though, on the flip side, what I did want out of this book was some really lush, amazing descriptions of Positano, the food, the atmosphere, the locations, and I absolutely got that. That is like a large majority of the book. Like, a lot of the page count goes to just describing the food and the place, and you know, that's exactly what you want out of a book that's set in Positano. That's exactly what I wanted out of this. So For that, it's like definitely checks that box, and I was happy about that. There also is a little bit of romance. I'm not much of a romance reader. I don't tend to care for it. I very rarely do. It's just not what I'm looking for in a book. But it is there because I know that is something that a lot of people are looking for. So yeah, it's a 3. I really struggle with this because it just does not hold a candle to In 5 Years. But with that being said, I will probably continue to pick up Rebecca Serle in the future because she does have really good ideas. And she does manage to get you thinking, even if she's really just asking the questions and not providing too many of the answers, but it is what it is. And then I was able to start A Perfect Vintage by Chelsea Fagan, and I was just so intrigued about what this was going to be because Chelsea Fagan is, she's very well known for starting her business, which is called The Financial Diet. You can find their channel here on YouTube, but basically she started this business where she works to educate people on personal finance, and often it intersects in some way with media and kind of like pop culture, and how the media is really kind of like pushing these false narratives about personal finance, about wealth, about the way people live, and how just the intersectionality of many social issues can be direct effectors or direct results of just a misunderstanding of personal finance and systematic financial issues as well. She's a very, very intelligent woman, and she is very she's a chic, amazing, well put together. This woman is amazing. I love Chelsea Fagan, and I was kind enough to receive an arc of this book, her first novel, which is really exciting. It's actually a passion project, and she funded the whole thing herself, and she will tell you all about the finances of publishing a book, of doing it her way of self-publishing. That's all on the Financial Diet channel. But anyway, I was very, very, very lucky to be gifted this book from her, and I'm so excited because she's an idol of mine. I really love her, and she wrote this novel about a woman who goes to France for the summer on a job. The woman, she is like a designer, and she fixes up old French chateaus and turns them into boutique hotels, which is just really fun. And Chelsea had said that this book was really like a very indulgent trip to the French countryside, and I was excited because knowing Chelsea Fagan, she would not write a novel and not include her many extremely brilliant thoughts on wealth, especially one that's set in the French countryside and is really just about being indulgent, but kind of in the best way. What I love about Chelsea Fagan is that she is very much a proponent of enjoying your life and having the opportunity to treat yourself and have nice things, but also understanding the very vast and intricate ways in which wealth affects everything that we do. So I knew that she could not write this book without going into those issues. And pretty much, so I'm on page 32, and already we have had so many discussions of not just things that to do with finance, but just with society in general. We're talking about a person who is going through emotional and financial abuse with their partner that they're married to, legally tied to. We're talking about, wealth disparity. We're talking about gender issues, gender assumptions. Again, another person, another character who is dealing with the societal pressure to get married, have a traditional family, have kids. Chelsea Fagan is a woman who is very outspoken about her choice to be child-free, and she's very much an advocate for being able to choose your lifestyle. So that is found here. And like I said, I'm only 32 pages in, and she has already brought out many of her staples, which I'm excited about because I very much love the Financial Diet content, and I love Chelsea, and I love her opinions and her views. So for me, this really works. And also, Chelsea is just, like I said, a super intelligent and brilliant woman, and you can really tell that in her writing because she does like to use large words and kind of sentences that are very complex, and sentences with a lot of kind of addendums and additions to the phrases that kind of talk about the character's thoughts in a way that's really pretty unique for, I think, this type of book. Well, I don't know if it's unique because I don't usually read. I don't read much like summer fluffy romance, but anyway, I'm really enjoying it because it does have a lot of depth. I mean, there is more depth in these 32 pages I read than the entirety of One Italian Summer, which it's really refreshing because I was so kind of frustrated with the lack of depth on the themes that One Italian Summer is trying to deal with. And then right out of the gate, we get some very complex discussions about a lot of things right away. And we haven't even got to the really good stuff because this book does involve a very wealthy family who inherits, I think they inherit a chateau or something. And it's going to be about old money, illicit affairs. It's just this very niche blend of kind of social commentary on wealth, but then also being this like indulgent, like romance kind of summer read. So I'm really enjoying it so far. The characters have just boarded their plane to France, and I'm already loving the descriptions. They're on a first class flight. It feels luxurious, and I can't wait for them to get to France. And I want to hear all about it. I want to hear what the chateau looks like. I want to see the countryside. I want to, feel and taste the flavors of the wine, like all of that. And I did go to France, the Epcot version. And I had to have a little bit of wine to celebrate a perfect vintage. But I'm enjoying this so far, and I am just very curious as to where this is going to go. Okay, hello. It's time for a reading update on A Perfect Vintage by Chelsea Fagan. Actually, what I'm going to do right now is make myself an Aperol Spritz because I meant to make one for the Positano book. It's obviously Italy, drinking Aperol Spritz, but it never happened. And I'm in the mood for an Aperol Spritz. It's July 3rd. And I want to have a little summer drink. So I'm going to tell you about A Perfect Vintage while I make an Aperol Spritz. This is how we have to do things. Okay, so I have my Prosecco and my Aperol. What else goes into an Aperol Spritz? I don't really know. Well, I don't have anything else, so this is what we're going to make. I have my wine glass. Yeah, it's just no club soda, just Prosecco. Okay, so A Perfect Vintage. I am just about at the 30% mark, and we have gotten to our French chateau. So the chateau is owned by this really wealthy French family, and our protagonist, Leah, is there to renovate it and turn it into a modern boutique hotel. And she is joined by her cousin and friend, Stephanie, who is going through a very recent divorce, and she just needs to be away from home for a while, and she's also joined by Stephanie's daughter, Maya, who is, I think, I don't know, 19, a teenager, 18, I don't know. So the three of them go to this French chateau where the family is involved in the process of renovating the house, and the family is full of very sexy French men. Definitely you can tell Chelsea Fagan's love for France and French people. Her husband is French and she's fluent in French, and she's been there a lot of times, and you can just definitely tell that this is like a place that she really cares about. But definitely like she is explaining all the glitz, glamour, over the top, like exuberance of the French kind of, you know, upper class. So that's very fun. But like I said, Chelsea Fagan, she is a financial guru. She's a financial person, so that's how she built her empire, is teaching people about personal finance. So everything, like the book, like it's an interesting mix, because on the one hand it's this like kind of indulgent summary story about some flings in a French chateau, but on the other hand, like everything has this kind of undercurrent of socioeconomic politics to it, which I enjoy. You know, Chelsea Fagan is really doing an interesting job of like balancing those two things, because they don't necessarily mesh, but it's kind of refreshing to have this kind of fun story, but with Chelsea kind of bringing forth all of these concepts about wealth and privilege and culture differences and things like that. So yeah, Leah, our protagonist, is like a very organized type A person, and she's really dealing with having her family, well, her friends, her family, with her on the job site and causing chaos, because each of them kind of falls very quickly for one of the family members, one of the men. The family does have a teenage daughter, so it'll be interesting to see what that dynamic is. There we go, adding our Aperol to get that gorgeous orange summery color. And there we go. I think you're supposed to add other things to it, but I don't have anything to it, so there we go. But yeah, I'm excited to continue on with this and really just indulge in the story. It is a story about an age gap romance, but kind of non-stereotypically, it's the woman who's older, which I don't think we really get in many stories, especially in romance novels. It tends to be the guy that's older, and I have historically not cared for age gap romances, but because it's Chelsea Fagan and like she's doing it as like kind of a commentary on these tropes in romance stories, I'm kind of intrigued as to where it's gonna go. Very nice. I'm going to take my Aperol Spritz outside and continue reading. All right, and with that, it is finally time for me to wrap up this vlog. It's been a long time since I started it, I won't even lie. It's actually July 30th today, which means that by the time I get this vlog out, there's gonna be still 1 month left of summer. August is still very much summer, and you know, if you are looking to hold on to those summer feelings, you know, I have some books to talk to you about. Starting with, of course, my finished review of A Perfect Vintage by Chelsea Fagan. I just finished reading this what are my thoughts on it? Well, first of all, we just gotta know Chelsea Fagan is she's everything to me. I love her so much. You should definitely check out her channel, which is The Financial Diet, here on YouTube. And also they have their own website. She's really got an empire of financial literacy going on. So I just highly recommend everything that she does. But as far as the novel goes, yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. I'll say romance is really not my genre. This kind of like fluffy, light, it's actually not as light as other books in the genre, but I just mean that the genre itself of like, you know, low stakes romance is not really my thing. I don't read much romance. So that being said, like it wasn't gonna be for me to start out with, but with that being said, like what Chelsea Fagan does do in this book, as I've kind of mentioned in previous sections, is she is just a very intelligent woman who in this book is not just talking about romance. She's talking about very nuanced issues. This does feature an age gap romance in a way that's nuanced and interesting. Like it's not talking about like power imbalances or anything like that. Like it's really actually getting to the root of why we as a society have a problem with age gap romances between consenting adults. So that's kind of interesting, and she does spin it in an interesting way that makes it different from other kinds of conversations about that topic. She features characters that are going through divorces, and characters who older female characters are at the center of this story, which they are kind of, I would think, just an underrepresented genre, which they're kind of an underrepresented group in romances. Like often those romance characters are younger. They really are at kind of the start of their romantic lives, I would say. But in this book, both of the female characters have already had long relationships before, so we're kind of moving past all of the kind of, I guess, silly, naive stuff that happens in people's first long, intense relationships, I guess. I don't know. I don't read much romance, so I'm probably not even making any sense. But she does talk about like things with a lot of nuance and thought, and just, she's not just throwing stuff out there. Like she's really thinking about the implications for the characters. There are real consequences when things go wrong. This woman is, it's her job, it's her career to work at this chateau, and getting involved to any degree while she's on this job is like a very serious situation, no matter who it's with, let alone with it being with a family member of the people that she's working for. Like, what are the implications of that on her career? Chelsea gets into all of that. So just, I think like what does work for me about this book is how much is being discussed outside of the romance. Like there is a lot about career. There is a lot about self-worth and like women being defined by certain things at certain points in their lives. And it does talk a lot about kind of learning for the main character to, for her to like learn how to continue to enjoy her life past like 30 years old, because in so much media, apparently women's lives just end when they turn 30. So there's a lot of discussion about that. There's a lot of discussion about this character is choosing to be a child-free person, and what does that mean, and how does society, look at people differently for making that choice and stuff like that. And just, there's just a lot of really good stuff in here besides just the romance. The romance itself is fine. It's fine. I think, again, like as a person who doesn't really like romance to begin with. I'm not going to be the great, judge on that. But also, I think that just the character of Teo is just, he's not really like my kind of, character. So he's nice, he's good, like I'm happy for her, but like I just think he's okay. Definitely for me, the romance takes a back seat, but it's there, and it is, it's focused on, but for me personally, that's just not what I'm looking for in books. And coming from Chelsea Fagan, I obviously am more interested in her takes on other parts of, the discussion. So that's that. That being said, though, like very summer focused, very like European vacation. It's very indulgent in that way. Like you get all the descriptions of the food and the wine and the parties, and it's just like, the family's rich, so it's like very it's just very escapist in that way, which I did really enjoy. Okay, so looking at these two books together, One Italian Summer by Rebecca Serle and A Perfect Vintage by Chelsea Fagan. These two books are a great little book vacation. If you are looking for something, this one definitely reads a lot quicker. This one did take me a minute to get through because it's a little bit dense. It's not, it's a little bit slow moving. It's not necessarily like slow completely, but it is more dense because there's so many characters with a lot of things going on and a lot of, tough situations they're dealing with actually. So that's why I say like it's not super lighthearted, interestingly. And this one also, it's not super lighthearted at the beginning. So just know that going into both of these, but they both give like very exquisite descriptions of the locations that they're in. Both are just, like filled to the brim with lush, absolutely like delicious descriptions of the location, of the food, of the drinks, of the atmosphere. Like they're both very atmospheric books, and of course they both are very summer oriented. So as we have a month left in summer, like if you are looking to hold on to those summer vibes, and you want to take a little book vacation, these are two options that you could go for, depending on if you want to go to Italy or France, or you can go to Epcot like I did. That's what I did. That was my version of a summer European getaway. All right, that's all I've got for you tonight, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, week, month, year, summer. The end of summer, can you believe it? It's already the end of summer. I can't believe it. All right, thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.